right, we're live in Abuja. You're still watching Newsday on a public hearing towards tax reform. Let's listen.
Yes, it does not encourage that. It's almost impossible. One of the proposals we have in the bill before you is to allow Nigerian companies that have operations abroad to get unilateral tax relief if they earn income abroad and they pay tax on it, and they are bringing it back to Nigeria and there's another tax on it. We should give them credit for the tax that they have paid abroad. This is what countries that want to attract headquarters companies to their jurisdiction, this is one of the things they have to do. And I believe that Nigeria is ripe to be that center, that destination, that choice location in Africa, first and foremost, for investment. If any company wants to invest in Africa, they will normally think about Nigeria first. While I was in the private sector, I advised many multinationals, local companies, and small businesses. 9 out of 10 times, when they ask questions about, I've also answered questions about a company that wants to set up car manufacturing, one of the largest in the world, that eventually went to another country. When they ask you the basic questions and you answer them, they usually don't come back, and it's because the numbers don't add up. So beyond our aspiration to be a great country, beyond the population that we have, we must have the right framework and environment that is conducive for investment. Another proposal we have is that we looked at what Nigerians consume. You know, the multidimensional poverty index that we started with, we said health, food, we said education, we said living standard. It turns out that most of these consumption that people need for survival carry tax in Nigeria today, VAT. We believe that it is time for us to remove VAT from this essential consumption. Nobody should have to think about making a choice between eating bread or gari because of the VAT. So our proposal is that food should no longer carry VAT. Our proposal is that education should not carry VAT, whether it's hidden or revealed VAT. Our proposal is that education and health should not carry VAT. Transportation, of course, if you hire a car, you pay the VAT. But if you enter public transportation, you should not have to pay VAT because you need that for your survival, going back and forth. The same thing with accommodation. Let people be able to put the roof over their head. So when we looked at the consumer purchasing index by the Bureau of Statistics, all the consumption in Nigeria are classified into 12 categories. These very essential consumptions, they constitute 82% of where our people spend their money, particularly the low-income earners. We have proposed in the bill before you to remove the VAT on these essential items. In other words, 4 out of every 5 consumption by the masses, we no longer carry VAT. Only 1 we carry VAT. And that one that is carrying VAT is not the most basic things, which means people at the high income end are the ones who tend to spend a lot of money on those things. While we are not saying they should not spend money to enjoy their lives, we're saying they should please give us a little for us to fund government. Then we also believe that we should allow businesses to restructure their organization. So there are people who start businesses accidentally. They cannot find a job, they start selling something before they know it. Before you know it, you have 5 companies and they're operating inefficiently. What you see everywhere in the world is at a point you reorganize your business to become efficient. Today, our tax laws come in the way of you restructuring your business to be efficient. It's almost like a crime for you to want to restructure your businesses to be efficient. We believe we must address that. Allow businesses to operate efficiently. The more efficient they are, the more value they can create. The more value they create, the more taxes they can pay to the government. And last but not the least, of the important highlight on this Nigerian tax bill is that our small businesses are overburdened with taxes. They have to do PAYE, they have to do VAT, they have to do withholding tax, companies income tax, and endless amount of levies and charges, particularly at the local government level. We believe that it is time for us to create a threshold that is high enough to protect these small businesses. Our proposal before the National Assembly is that any business that earns 50 million naira a year or less should not be asked to carry the burden of taxes here and there. Because our data shows that out of the informal sector and small businesses, SMEs, only about 3% of them are capable of carrying the tax burden. And this 3%, if we do it well, is in fact more than the number of people that are active in the tax system today. In other words, we are attempting to tax everyone, yet we are not making progress. What other countries do is to target their top end who have the ability to pay, put all your effort on them, and you begin to see the result that is transformational in terms of your revenue. So we also have this proposal before you to protect our small businesses. On the next slide is the analysis I just spoke to in terms of how we identify the essential consumption by the Nigerian people. For example, the average household in Nigeria today spend 52% of their income just to eat. The lower you go down the ladder, the higher that percentage is. So we do not think that anybody should have to suffer hunger because of taxes. So I'll leave that slide and speak to an issue that has been very, very hotly debated since these bills have been presented to the National Assembly. And that is to do with the revenue sharing formula for VAT. And if you permit me, I'll spend a minute or two just to give some background. In 1986, the military introduced the sales tax decree, and it was collected by states across Nigeria. 5 years, they did not make progress. In 1991, the military set up a committee and asked the committee, help us look at why is this sales tax not working? Should we be considering value-added tax? Because at that time, more than 100 countries in the world had introduced VAT, and they were very successful. So this committee came up with a finding and advised the government that VAT is a better tax than sales tax. Sales tax creates what we call cascading effect. Every stage that you go through in producing, the sales tax will pile up, so that when you are done, the end product is too expensive. So VAT is a better tax. But the committee advised that if you must implement VAT, it should be implemented centrally, but the money should be shared to the subnational, with federal keeping the cost of managing that tax. In 1993, the military introduced the value-added tax decree, and in 1994, the implementation commenced. By 1999, when we got into the Fourth Republic, we needed a constitution. If you read the constitution of 1999 and 1979, they have a lot of similarities. We believe that the 1999 constitution, because it was fashioned after the 1979 constitution, they did not remember to put VAT in the 1999 constitution, because in 1979 there was no VAT. Because VAT has not been mentioned specifically in the 1999 constitution, and we have seen judgment even as recent as last week about gaming, lottery, that says it has to be House of Assembly of the States. Before then, we had one on hospitality and tourism. It also said, the Supreme Court said, it is the state. That is why Rivers State went to court. Lagos State has been to court on VAT, and they have won that VAT should be tax of the state. But the final appeal is at the Supreme Court. A final determination has not been made. We see danger that if we wait for the court to tell us the answer to this problem, that answer will create chaos for us. Number one, every state will collect less than half of what they are getting now. Number two, businesses will struggle because you bought something in Kaduna and you are selling it in Ekiti. They will not allow you for the input. And the more the cost piles up, the more businesses will struggle. In addition to that, in the US today, United States of America, they do sales tax and it's collected by states. But the state cannot collect sales tax on imports or international services, because that is the exclusive preserve of the federal government. If states should begin to collect VAT today, they will not be able to collect import VAT. Import VAT and international VAT is about half the VAT of the Supreme Court. Therefore, We looked at the current formula for sharing VAT, and it says federal government should take 15%, the state should take 50%, and local government should take 35%. That is the vertical distribution. But amongst the states, which is the horizontal distribution, it says at least 20% of the VAT revenue should be on derivation. The derivation for VAT is not the same thing as derivation for oil and gas. Every single state in Nigeria has derivation of VAT. When a state awards contract for their infrastructure, there's VAT, that's derivation. When any business there invoices for goods, that's derivation. But that derivation today is lopsided in favor of Lagos State, because Lagos State is where the head offices of major companies in Nigeria are located. Today, VAT is attributed to the state where the VAT is paid to the government. For example, the largest VAT payer in Nigeria is MTN, followed by Dangote. When MTN remits VAT in Lagos, they are remitting VAT on all the calls that are made in Nigeria. Why is that credit given to only Lagos State? We believe that's lopsided. If Dangote sends cement across Nigeria to their distributors, Dangote's head office is in Lagos, they will pay the VAT in Lagos. All the VAT on Dangote cement, Bua cement, Lafarge cement are credited to Lagos. We said number one problem we must solve is to correct this lopsidedness of how VAT is attributed to states. Our proposal before you is that going forward, if we have your approval for the bills, every state will receive credit for the consumption within their territory. MTN will tell us these are the states where they made calls, and they can tell us from their masts. They have equipment. If I call here now, the call cannot go through until it connects. So they know where I am, I'm making a call. When Dangote does not sell one bag cement to retailers, they send it to their distributors. Their distributors have addresses that can be tracked to states. So Dangote can tell you, I've sold 10 million cement of bag of cement, and I sold 1 million in Kaduna, 10,000 in Ekiti. They can give you that information. So every state will get credit for the economic activities within their jurisdiction. We believe that once that correction has been done, we should then allow states to keep more of the economic activities that they have generated within their jurisdiction. One, because it is fair to do so. Number two, to discourage any state from going to the Supreme Court to get a judgment that they want to administer VAT on their own, which is not what we want. So this is the summary of the proposal we have that is creating a lot of debate, but we do appreciate those debates, but we believe and we appreciate and we are grateful for this opportunity to explain the reason for our proposal to the Nigerian people and of course to this distinguished Senate. I will take a few of the other important provisions in those bills that I haven't explained. One of it is personal income tax. And like I said in my opening remarks, today we are taxing people that earn 30,000 naira a month. That's 1,000 naira a day. How can anybody survive earning 30,000 naira a month? Even if they live alone, they will do transport, they will buy food, they will pay rent, they will pay electricity. They cannot survive. So we are proposing in the bill before you that anybody earning 800,000 naira per annum, including an extra 200,000 for rent, about 1 million a year, should not pay personal income tax. By the way, this threshold is not even the highest in Africa. It's still lower than many smaller African countries, but it's a good start for us to show that we are considerate of our poorest people. In addition to that, people who earn about 1 million, 1.5 million naira a month and less than that will see a reduction in their personal income tax bill, because it's hard for everybody. We need to protect even the low middle income earners. These proposals, if approved by the Senate, will reduce the tax on 90% of our workers, both in the private and the public sector. And it will exempt more than 30% of our citizens who earn about minimum wage, around 50, 60, 70,000 naira. Then the remaining 10% who are not so poor will now pay a little bit more. The top rate today is 24% in the law, and we are proposing it goes to 25%. We're doing some other reforms around allowances and relief. So effectively, if somebody earns 100 million naira a month, clearly not a poor person, the maximum they will pay even under our proposal is only 25%. If they were in South Africa, they'll be paying 41%. If they were in Kenya, they'll pay 35%. Of course, if they're in the UK or the US, they'll be close to 40%. But we're doing only 25%. One other reason why we believe it's important to adjust that rate for high net worth individuals is to encourage formalization. Today, distinguished senators, if I'm doing a business and I call it Taiwo Enterprises, I did not register with CAC, and I'm honest to pay my taxes, the maximum personal income tax I will pay is 19%. If I make a mistake to register that as a company the following day, from next year my company income tax is more than 40%. We are trying to correct this so that businesses will be encouraged to formalize their businesses. When they formalize their businesses, they open the door for growth. And then, because they grow, they pay taxes. I will move on to the second bill. The second bill is the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill. This is the bill that is seeking to set up a minimum standard for how we administer taxes across Nigeria, including harmonization of our tax identity. Today, someone like me can have about 3 IDs in Nigeria. So,
please can we listen to him in silence, please? Senator Malamodori.
Okay, I'll round up now. Yes.
Senator Malamodori, please take your seat.
So for someone like me, I reside in Lagos, but I do most of my work.
You must say, take your seat.
I do most of my work in the FCT, and I also have a number with Joint Tax Board. I have like 3 identities. So we're saying, let's harmonize it. Let Nigerians have just one identity.
Wait. Please, can we listen in silence, please? Everybody's interested in what he's saying. You can see people at the gallery. The gallery is full. Nigerians want to listen to him, want to hear what is happening, want to have a knowledge of what is going on here. Please, let's listen to him in silence.
Yes, I'm almost done, maybe about 10 minutes, Mr. President. So we also, as part of this proposal for the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, we are proposing that we use technology to administer taxes in a way that is efficient and to be able to connect intelligence across Nigeria so that if there's anyone who is evading taxes, we can find out. And if there's anyone who is too poor to pay tax, we can exempt them. We also have provisions for exchange of information between and among tax authorities. We have proposals for tax refunds. So if companies have overpaid their taxes, we should allow them to get a refund so that they do not have to borrow at 30-40% to pay government instead of doing their businesses. The third bill is the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill. This bill, as I explained earlier on, is trying to make the FRS play its proper role as the revenue agency of the federation that collects money for the federation, and to then connect with other agencies as well as sub-national in terms of tax intelligence, use of technology, capacity building, and collaboration and exchange of information. The last bill is the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. I already explained this bill is trying to reform the Joint Tax Board to play a bigger role. It's trying to set up the Tax Appeal Tribunal in a way that it can handle tax disputes across Nigeria. Of course, taxpayers have the right to appeal to the court if they are not happy with the decision of the Tax Appeal Tribunal, which the National Assembly has set up but under a different framework. And the last one is a tax ombudsman to protect our small businesses and vulnerable taxpayers. So I will conclude on the next slide. Our belief is that revenue is only a means to an end It is not an end in itself, and our policies, tax, fiscal policy, monetary policy, must facilitate sustainable growth and development for shared prosperity, which means that our economy must be organized in a way that is conducive and investment-friendly. Our fiscal and tax policies must be purposeful and coherent, easy to understand and administer. Our laws must be enabling of businesses and dynamic, and governance must be simple and efficient. I'll conclude with our prayers to the distinguished Senate and the National Assembly. Our prayer is that our distinguished senators will go through these bills and help us consider them based on their merits and based on national interest in the light of the challenges that we face today. We stand ready at any time that we are given the opportunity to come and explain, to be able to do so, even to committees or any groups, as the Senate may so desire. We pray before the Senate that these proposals be favorably considered. Like I said, there are over 200 proposals trying to reform different areas of our tax system and the economy. We thank you very much for this opportunity today. We do not take it for granted. And once again, Mr. President and distinguished senators, thank you very much for the opportunity, and may God bless you. Christ.
Thank you very much, Kana.
Yes.
The floor is now yielded to DG Budget.
Order, please.
Tanimu Yakubu, you have the floor. Mr. Tanimu Yakubu has the floor now. We'll listen to DG Budget. It's our new DG Budget Office of the Federation.
You're watching live plenary proceedings from the Senate, and today experts are in the chamber.
However, it is projected to decline by 40% to $363 billion in 2024. With a further alarming drop of 19.6% to $241 billion by 2025 if no corrective action is taken.
Chief Whip, take action. Do something.
This means that within a decade, our economy would have lost over half of its value, a staggering 51% decline from 2015 to 2025. This administration is determined to halt this economic slide. A critical step has been the removal of subsidies that disproportionately benefit the wealthy, redirecting those funds to strengthen public sector investment in critical infrastructure and service delivery across federal, state, and local governments. The results are already evident. Last month's Federation account distribution set new records in allocations. The results are already evident. Last month's Federation account distribution set new records in allocations to the three tiers of government. The tax reform bills before the National Assembly